Representative Jim Jordan's subcommittee on government weaponization against conservatives has unsurprisingly come up empty. I'm shocked. Shocked, I tell you. Now, Jordan claimed that dozens and dozens of whistleblowers they've come forward. They have come forward and they are here to expose the government malfeasance. The government coming in and targeting conservatives. Okay, where are they? We have had 2 hearings so far with basically nothing. In fact, the committee's second hearing, they had a first one on February 9th. Okay. The second one focused on, what is it? Oh, right, Twitter. Now, Jim Jordan had 2 witnesses there, not whistleblowers, but witnesses. That's Matt Taibbi and Michael Schellenberger. So now they were there to testify, and their testimony actually had 0 evidence to refute earlier testimony from Twitter employees who said that, look, yes, we made the decision to, ban the New York Post, okay, and stop them from talking about the Hunter Biden laptop story. So now that was Twitter's decision. It was ultimately the wrong decision. And they did so based on a warning. Hey, watch out for Russian disinformation. So now Jim Jordan's trying to associate this warning with orders, saying, oh, it's the FBI ordered, forced Twitter to ban the New York Post. You're going to ban it so that people do not read about the great Hunter Biden laptop scandal story. But that's not what happened. Again, there was no evidence to refute the Twitter employees saying, no, actually, ultimately, we made the decision to pull it. We were not ordered by the FBI. Therefore, the government, which, by the way, was under the Trump administration, the FBI had not singled out and targeted any information about the Biden laptop. Now, I'll give you the details of what actually happened. But again, no deliberate targeting of conservatives to shut down their speech by the government. That's just ridiculous. So now, as I mentioned before, Schellenberger and Taibbi are not whistleblowers, so they didn't have any information. And so where are the whistleblowers? Oh, it turns out there are no whistleblowers. Again, big surprise, right? Now, to get to the government here, who did put out a warning. So essentially they warned social media, hey, look, watch out for Russian disinformation. And so the people at Twitter, knowing how right-wing media tends to operate, said, okay, we think this could possibly be BS. Now, as I told you before, it was a bad call. The laptop does exist. It is real. But apparently it's not as damning to President Biden as they hoped that it would be. You know how I know? Well, because the hearings would instead be about the contents of the laptop instead of Twitter allegedly working or with the FBI or the FBI using the power of the government to order Twitter to censor the story. So we would be having a completely different conversation if they had actually found a smoking gun, but they didn't. So now the irony about this entire weaponization committee is the fact that they're actually attempting to weaponize the committee and do the same thing that they're accusing the left of doing, the Democrats. Now, Jim Jordan recently sent out subpoenas to about 50 former intelligence officials. These are the intelligence officials who, again, claim the laptop story might have been part of a disinformation campaign. Though part of the letter also admitted, hey, we're not sure. So just be careful. Quote, we want to emphasize that we do not know if the emails provided to the New York Post by President Trump's personal attorney, Rudy Giuliani, are genuine or not, and that we do not have evidence of Russian involvement. Just that our experience makes us deeply suspicious that the Russian government played a significant role in the case. So again, we don't know, we're not sure, we're just suspicious based on our experience. Okay, now if you want to call that paranoia, that's fine, that's absolutely fair. You could say, well, they got Russia on the brain, Russia, oh my God, Russiagate. Okay, sure, whatever. Overly careful, or just bad call, whatever. But again, this was their opinion, right? Be skeptical, which I don't think that is really all that bad advice. Yes, we should be skeptical of media sources and just make sure to do extra reading, maybe get information from multiple sources, exercise some media literacy. And that makes sense. It's a correct call. Do not take what anybody says at face value. Now, because of that, however, that letter, Jordan and the Intelligence Committee Chairman Michael Turner, again, sent subpoenas to the signatories demanding all the documents related to the statement and directed the former officials to appear for transcribed interviews. So basically, we're going to haul you all in. And then what? Interrogate you? Waste your time over what is essentially a non-issue, because there's, again, no evidence that the FBI or the government had been ordering Twitter to censor conservatives. This is a made-up controversy. And by the way, this letter said that if you don't comply, they have been warned. Subpoenas will be forthcoming. This is all over a made-up controversy. This is red meat. What would we learn from this? Nothing. But understand that this is a way to weaponize the government, using the power of government to compel people to testify for just political reasons. And that's what it is. This is to score political points with the base. It's the height of irony. And by the way, it's also a good way for Republicans to waste time and not solve real problems. That's exactly what Republicans are paid to do. Whenever they get into power, their first thing is not to try to solve issues. No, it's to waste time. And by the way, what happened the last time Republicans got full control of the government? What did they actually do? Deregulated the banks, deregulated the trains, and gave $2 trillion in tax cuts to the rich. Weird how that works out. And by the way, now we have even more national debt as a result of the tax cuts for the rich, increased inequality economically, rich people richer, poor people poorer. You have banks like SVB that failed because they didn't have liquidity when there was a run on banks due to Fed monetary policy and the lack of regulation. They were not stress tested because at the 2018 Trump deregulation bill. And of course the trains also deregulated thanks to lobbying of Republicans by the industry that Trump had bragged about deregulating. So these lobbyists, they come in, they buy the politicians, they send a bill to Trump, Trump signs it and then brags, I deregulated the trains. Tremendous. Taking out the burden of regulations off of our beautiful, tremendous trains. And then, of course, what did we have? An increase in derailments, toxic derailments like East Palestine and many other places. Detroit, Alabama. The list goes on. So, no, they don't solve real problems. In fact, they seem to create more problems And then, well, I mean, they create these problems, but that's okay for them because guess what? People get rich. And ultimately, that's the entire purpose of the Republican Party, is just to make rich people and corporations richer.